Today is Wednesday, the 25th of March. I am Adam Hebener, CEO of Modern Mortgage, and this is your Modern Minute for today. Looking forward to updating you on all kinds of things. And guys, I especially can't wait until we get a chance to kind of get into what's happening with the stimulus package, how it's actually affecting the marketplaces, the stock markets, bond markets, the various differences there, and what it means for you. But I'm not going to do that today because, well, the Senate is not quite done as of this copy negotiating through the process, though it sounds like there's some good news that they're headed in the right direction. Now, keep in mind, once the Senate finally finishes, it still has to go through the House, so we've got a little ways to go on this. When that's done, I'll actually read the entire bill, and as I always do, and I'll kind of go through the whole process to make sure I understand, and then I'll talk to you about what I think the implications to the broader economy as a whole are going to be. What I can tell you for now is good days on the stock market. Everybody's starting to talk about a return. We've bottomed out. We're where we need to be. I just want to encourage you, don't fall for it. Unlikely. We do not have any concrete actual information that would indicate that it's time for a reversal. And so it is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it is not a reversal. And in fact, the trend we've been talking about is probably going to continue. Wait until the unemployment numbers hit. They'll hit in the morning. And that's going to be a pretty big deal when they do. We're looking at something like 1 to 5 million on the unemployment rolls already. So this is not yet over, guys, as much as we're all kind of in that place where we're so tired of dealing with COVID-19 and the downturn and all the things. You get to a point where you kind of feel a sort of, what's the word? A kind of fatigue of fear. You just get sick of feeling afraid. I think that's a good thing. I don't want you to feel afraid. I don't feel afraid. I don't think we should feel afraid, but I do think that we should recognize that this is a persistent issue that we're going to continue to have to stay diligent on. So again, we'll get into those details tomorrow. What I really want to give you today is all of the implications for the very local Denver market in terms of what's happening in lending so that you're totally updated. Okay, so several things to share with you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about rates. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how guidelines have changed, and then mostly about kind of procedures that we at Modern Mortgage have put in place to ensure continuity of business. It's so important that we build a plan that's kind of built to close no matter what. Most of the bankers I'm talking to are kind of just hoping everything works out and assuming that the government will take care of it. I'm not comfortable with that. We don't do business that way. We try to build things in a way that stay open and that we've built kind of contingency plans for our contingency plans. So hopefully you know that about us by now. And so I'll just move on to the couple of updates I've got to give to you. First couple of little tweaks to guidelines. The really good news is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two government-sponsored agencies that write most of our guidelines, have expanded their guidelines in two key areas. One of them is the process for verifying employment. Now, it used to be that we would go through verification of employment and there was kind of more humans involved in that process in many cases. What Fannie Mae has done is open up their guidelines a little bit just to allow us to gain verifications of employments through things they wouldn't previously accept. Things like an email from the company, as long as it's not a general email address. So for instance, if the email is joescars@gmail.com, that's probably not going to work. But if it's joe@joescars.com, that probably is going to work. And an email from that location would probably suffice to verify employment. Now that's really good news because it means we can be less intensive in finding people on the third-party side to verify where our clients work. That helps a ton. So thank you for that, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Even more valuable than that, I think, is the way they have changed or expanded the aperture for appraisal process. This is really good news, something we're very excited about. What they've done is taken what are called the PIW requirements, the property inspection waiver requirements, and they've increased the number of properties that they'll allow a property inspection waiver on. Now that's good news because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for about 3 years now have been running a program that allows for what we call PIWs, and that's just kind of a digital appraisal. It means that Fannie or Freddie has seen your property before, and because they've seen it or seen one in its neighborhood, they've got it in their database and they feel pretty comfortable with appraising it just digitally and no appraisal is required. Now that's awesome because they have expanded the number of properties they'll do that on. So slightly higher loan to value ratios, a slightly greater number of loans than they used to consider, or loan types. So all of that's good. Now, to know if your property is going to get one, you still have to ask us. We still have to go through their automated system, because we won't exactly know until we run it through that system. So make sure you're talking to us, and we'll help you figure out if you're going to need an appraisal. Now, on top of that, if you do need an appraisal and COVID-19 specifically prevents or inhibits the appraisal, maybe a borrower has COVID-19, maybe an appraiser has COVID-19, maybe people are just worried about COVID-19 coming into the house, then it is possible in many cases to actually downgrade the appraisal from a full appraisal to just an inspection on the outside of the property, which would require just a drive-by and photos. Now, that isn't going to apply in every circumstance. There's kind of a few different things you need to know. So again, your particular property is going to need to get looked at. But the really good news is this is going to help everybody getting an appraisal. It's going to help you in one of two ways. Either your appraisal will be considered in this, and so you either won't have to get one, or the appraiser will drive in front of your house and you won't even know they were there. That's great. Or your neighbor's going to get one of these, and that's going to free up that limited pool of really good high quality appraisers we have, so that they can come to your house and get your appraisal done. All told, that's going to speed up the process pretty drastically, and I'm very excited about that. So very good news. Next thing I'm going to tell you is kind of the shelter-in-place requirements. This is one of the biggest questions I'm getting from our social media and email and all the different platforms we're on. There's quite a few of you out there, and probably the question we've been hearing in the top 3 or 5, I would say, is what happens if we get stuck in shelter-in-place? How are we going to close? Well, we're continuing to work that through with our title partners, with our investing partners, and really with the state of Colorado, and it continues to move in the right direction. So the good news is, with regard to shelter-in-place mandates from the city of Denver, 2 things to know. Number 1, realtors are now included in the exception for essential business. So if you're a realtor, you're not going to get shut down. You're going to allow to be continue working. Although you need to do that, obviously, wisely and taking precautions. The second thing is appraisers, inspectors, all those folks who are going to be working to accomplish essential banking business. We interpret that to mean that you're already under the auspices of closing an essential banking transaction, and so you're able as well to continue to perform business. So those are very good things, even if the government clampdowns require that folks shelter in place. So expect that the real estate's going to continue to move forward. We're working to build our structure so that nothing is going to stop us. Insofar as it's up to us, we're going to think about everything around every corner. We're going to be keeping our head on a swivel. We're going to be putting our resources, our attorneys, our minds, our compliance folks behind what it takes to get where we need to be. So just know for sure, there's nothing I'm working on more than keeping the lines open so that we can get your transactions to the table. So know that we are going to make that happen. We're going to do everything we can to get you to the table. And I think that's exciting. We feel really confident. We've got contingency plans for our contingency plans. And so barring an act of God, nothing's going to stop us. And we're excited about that. Now, the last thing, guys, is if you've checked in on the webinar I did last Friday, or you've seen any of the other discussions I've had about interest rates, what you're probably hearing is that the prediction I gave you has remained true. And that prediction is that we've not seen a steep decline in rates. We have seen a lot of motion in the mortgage-backed securities market, but that motion in the mortgage-backed securities market has not made it to consumers, unfortunately. I don't expect rates to be coming down in the very near term. And I think there's some very significant economic, macroeconomic level forces fighting against that. Now, could that change? Of course, the market could change on a dime, and if it does, we'll certainly let you know. But I can tell you with great confidence, based on all of the inputs, the data inputs, and all of the different forces involved, there's nothing that would indicate rates are going to be coming down in the very near future. So if you're thinking about doing a transaction, you're buying a house today, don't float it, lock it, get it done right now. If it were to come down, the most you would see is probably an eighth in the very near future. That might save you $20. But for that $20 a month, you're risking that it could go up and cost you another $60 a month or more. So get locked in, get yourself protected. If you're doing refinances, cash out refinances, Make sure you're consolidating debt. Make sure that you're taking out your reserves, as we've discussed. And guys, if you've got questions, if there's things we can address just to help you through this time, more information, more insight, if there's a specific thing you don't understand and you'd like to know more about, please send that to us. We've got tons more content coming your way. This is the stuff you need to know to be operating your home, your business, and watching what's coming in the greater economy every day. So that's what we're out doing. So please like, share, and subscribe. And guys, we'll look forward to checking back in with you tomorrow. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.